Hey everyone who is checking out this video. Well, I wanted to come in here and I wanted to answer a question about sound healing. Does it really work? Well, I have had different points in my life where I have trusted it, other times when I haven't even thought of it as an option because of what I'm used to in the way of looking after my body. And there have been other times when I have just experimented and just allowed myself to be surprised. So I thought I would share, 7 ways of how I have worked with sound and actually, frankly, been amazed. And it's kind of funny because I actually feel that it's been orchestrated, these situations have been orchestrated in my life so that when I get up in front of hundreds of people, or maybe more, that sound works. I can actually really speak from my own experience that, yeah, it really does produce results. So I want to share the first one, which is from 2009. I got on my path with sound back in 2001, and I was at a studio recording the Unity codes, which is the tuning fork audio, and I was there with the producer, and I had decided at that time to buy something at the nearby corner shop because I knew that I was going to be in the studio for quite a long time because we had quite an extensive, complicated mix to do. And so sometimes I will eat egg. And so I bought this egg sandwich and I thought, great, yeah, that's going to fill me up and I'm just not going to need to eat anything else. And within an hour of eating this sandwich, I was throwing up. I was going to the toilet every few minutes and I was just couldn't believe what had happened. And then I basically get to the end of the recording session. I continued to stay there because I couldn't actually drive home. And I ended up having to stay at the studio because I was only an hour's drive from the studio, but I literally just had no energy. My energy was completely gone. And the producer said to me, well, why don't we work with frequency and why don't we sort this out and just clear it out? And I looked at him and I just went, but I don't know what I've got. I don't know what this is. You know, I have no clue how to treat this other than knowing that I would, create a sound. Hey, Mark, thanks for tuning in. What would I be doing? I felt completely inept, honestly. And you can check out the full video on my YouTube. I felt like I didn't know how to fix this. I didn't know what I had. How could I know what the frequency was? And so I just felt powerless, actually. And it wasn't a good feeling. So I ended up staying at the studio overnight. And the next morning, I'm still throwing up. I'm still going to the toilet every few minutes. I'm just, just low energy, not able to eat anything, even water. It was just coming straight back up. And so we did some more work. I just decided to work with it, and but I still had the symptoms, and I'm still sick, and I'm like, what am I going to do? And again, the producer said to me, he said, well, why don't we work out what you've got, and then we can treat it with frequency. And again, I'm stuck in this loop. I'm like, I don't know how to fix this. I don't know what I've got. How can I know what the frequency is? So another day goes by and I am staying at the studio for a second night. Third morning comes around and I am still sick. At this point, it's just water coming in, and going straight out. And I was like, really feeling powerless and not good, you know. And so the producer said for the third time, why don't we sort this out? And even though my mind was saying, I don't think this is going to be fixable, or how can I fix this if I don't know what I've got? I just went, okay. I asked that beautiful question, what if I did know? What would the answer be? And so the answer came that I had E. coli. Now, if you know about eggs, it's normally salmonella. I'm not familiar with E. coli being something that eggs are an issue with, or that, you know, are contaminated with E. coli. So I was like, okay, E. coli, I'm going to trust that. Hey, Quanta, thank you for joining. So we're talking about frequency and healing the body naturally with frequency. And so I looked at the list of frequencies that are able to treat E. coli, and there were like 10. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go with number 7. So I'm in the studio already and I'm working with the producer. So we generate a tone which corresponds to that frequency to treat E. coli. And within seconds, as the sound is coming out the speakers, it starts to vibrate into my stomach. And that's the only part of my body that's vibrating. And then it suddenly goes like, And about 2-3 minutes later, everything went calm. Within 1 hour, all my symptoms had cleared, and within 2 hours, I was able to drive home. And it was such an interesting journey because I realized, like, I was feeling powerless. I didn't think I could fix it, even though I know sound is amazing and I've worked with it. By that time, I'd already been working with it 7 years. There was still part of my mind, still part of my doubts that I couldn't fix this. And it was super fascinating to me. So I felt like, yeah, I'm really able to talk about the power of sound and really own it and really be speaking from that place. And then fast forward 4 years on, for those of you who are watching from Bali, I got a bike burn, and that's on the inside of my lower leg from the exhaust, which is quite common if you're not paying attention to the bike and you've been driving for a while. And it was really painful, and a lot of people have these nasty scars. And I was like, oh, I don't think I want a nasty scar. I'm going to work with some tuning forks. So I was using this tuning fork, 111, which is amazing for pain. So it really sorted the pain out. It's very good for cellular regeneration. So it was really good for repairing the skin. And I was working with 528, which is an amazing frequency for repairing the body, repairing any kind of cell. And so I'm doing that. And today, you know, I have a very slight scar. You can barely see it. And I'm like, wow, this is really amazing. When I can speak to it, you know, and I've experienced it myself, that sound is healing. And then fast forward 2 years later, I was sick with malaria. I got malaria here, and I was really, really sick. I had typhoid and cholera also, but I was asymptomatic, so I didn't have those symptoms, thankfully, but I was just wasted. And I had to jump on a plane. 6 weeks later, I was doing some research in Hervey Bay with whales. And then I was speaking at the Oakland Globe Sound and Consciousness Institute. Actually, this is 2014. And so I really had to get myself together. And so what was super interesting was 6 months later, after that, I had to, I then got sick. I actually got a bacterial infection on my brain. And I was so ill. I was trying to finish a scientific paper for a conference that I had just completed, the Archaeoacoustics conference. And I was really struggling to get that paper finished. And so what was interesting is I decided that I thought it was actually the malaria coming back. This is actually January 2016. And what was fascinating was I actually had sound treatment for the malaria. And because we were treating the malaria, the bacterial infection actually didn't shift because we weren't focused on that. But the malaria cleared from my body. So that was amazing. And then 2019, I had a cat and she got a really bad attack of fleas. And I was trying diatomaceous earth, I was trying salt, I was trying baking soda, I was trying, what else? Essential oils in a diffuser. And they would work for a time, but they didn't completely sort it out. So I'm like, okay. And then I was speaking to a friend, and she also works with sound, and she said, oh, well, why aren't you using the frequency for fleas? And I'm like, oh gosh, I hadn't thought of that. So I started doing that, and within a few days, that frequency actually targets not only the eggs, but also the adults, and all stages basically of the life cycle. And that then went on to inspire me to create a product called Flea Free Sonic, which is available on my website. It's an MP3, it's a PDF, how to use it. And so that was really fascinating. And then 2020, I was told that I was going to receive these teachings. It was actually 2018 when I was in France, and I had been on a Black Madonna tour and Mary Magdalene, and I'd sat in meditation, and I'd been told, oh, you're going to receive these downloads of these teachings. And I'm like, what? And they were saying, you have to go back to England to receive these downloads. And I'm like, okay, but what is that? My mind really wanted to know, but I was told, no, you just go back to England and wait. And so these teachings came, and it was really amazing because I've used the voice, in my life as a singer for decades, and I've used it for healing, but I had never used it when I think about manifestation, like shifting our frequency, shifting our blocks, shifting our focus out of the mind and into the body. And I was like, oh my God, why have I not even thought of that? So I basically received all these teachings, and then I started applying it myself. And I created an online course, it's called Shift It. And a friend of mine was curious to check it out. So I was like, okay. So I went over to hers, and I was there for a couple of hours, and I taught her the basics. And she didn't really get it. So it was a little bit disappointing for me, but I was just like, okay, that's fine. Obviously I wasn't teaching it that well, so it was good feedback for me. And what was fascinating was I drove home and I had a client call, and because I was actually in the energy of supporting her, I didn't really think that it was really doing much for my energy, but it's all about engaging into that place of receptivity, and I can manifest this, and asking in a different way. It's like the power of prayer on steroids. And how can we do that? There are amazing ways we can do that if we know how to focus our energy. And so I had this client call, and I was really high vibe. My energy was I was really grounded in my body. I was really expanded in my heart. And I was just feeling great. I was feeling really aligned. And this lady, she got off the call, and she was just really excited by she'd found me online, and she was just like, oh my God, I'm amazed by your programs. I want to do everything, But she said, oh, okay, I said to her, well, why don't you start with these 2 programs? Because they're tuning forks, and one is for working physically on the body with weighted forks, so you can get a really tangible shift. No one can deny that you're feeling that frequency in your body, and it immediately is going to your little toe. And then forks for going around the energy field, and that's amazing for opening up your energy channels and essentially for resetting yourself back to your divine blueprint. So she was so excited, and I was in such a positive energy. We got off the call, and she proceeded to buy not only the tuning forks for both those courses, but both courses as well. And that was the single biggest website sale I've ever made on my website. And I've been doing sound since 2001, and it's been hard. It's been a hard graft. I feel like I'm a bit of a pioneer, perhaps, and a lot of people still aren't sure whether sound is possible, in terms of healing. And I've certainly been put through my paces with trying to stay focused on what I'm doing and just trusting, because I know, I've got a beautiful friend in the States, the same one that was talking about the flea frequency, and she's doing such beautiful work. She works with similar frequencies to me, and she's working with autism, ADHD, brain injury, even quadriplegic and paraplegic. And this client gifted her a house, and so she's making a clinic, which is just beautiful, And so I have certain really key people around me. My mentor is amazing, and so I just keep on going, and I trust that there is, the tide is shifting, and there is a shift with people seeing that what I'm doing is useful. And then after that, so 2021, I had a frozen shoulder, and this time it was a little bit more complex for me because I have a massive selection of tuning forks, but I didn't have the frequencies for this. I had some, but I didn't have all. So I got on an app, and an app which then plugs into an amplifier. So an app on a phone plugs into an amplifier, and then the amplifier can amplify the frequency, and then that goes into TENS patches, which you can then stick on to the body. And I was choosing frequencies for inflammation, I was choosing frequencies for pain, I was choosing frequencies for muscle tension, and I was doing it religiously every day. The body loves repetition. So, and then also part of that healing was I was also using 111, which is amazing for beta endorphin stimulation, which means it's great for pain. And it's also taking the body to unity. So where there's contraction, where there's holding, where there's stuck energy, it starts to move that. And if you engage with your breath, you make that breath really deep, and a bit of movement, tuning in and intuitively feeling how the body wants to move that energy, then amazing things happen. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 examples of how sound works. And it makes sense, doesn't it? Everything is vibration outside us, and everything is vibration inside us. And I know for many of us that our first go-to, if we had a headache or we had muscle tension, is going to be, to get a pill, or it's going to be to get some massage. But if we know we can get a faster result, and we can actually tune in, and we can actually fix ourselves once we know a few key things that we can do to shift that energy, then I'm super excited about that. I find it super empowering, because I can be in the middle of a field in a festival or on the top of the Himalayas, and there's no one around. But if I know that there is something I can do to shift my energy, I can shift my state, then I'm going to do that. And what I love about sound is it's non-invasive, it's easily accessible because we've all got a voice, and it's also about taking the power back into your body and giving ourselves permission to make any sound, and also asking, what is it I need to do? Even if the mind is kind of going, oh, I'm not really sure, just like I was saying, you know, or I have disbelief and I just think, oh, I don't think this is going to work. All I say to people is try it. And what's also interesting is another story, which I'll briefly share. I was chatting with a group of kids who were living in Bristol, which is actually where I was born. And they were these urban kind of hipster club guys, they're under 20. And I was talking to them about sound, and I could see some of them kind of giggling in the audience, and I was just like, it's cool, I get it, people laugh at things until they have their own personal experience, perhaps. And so I said to them, I've got a little project for you. I want you to experiment, and you've got nothing to lose by doing this. And I said, we can work with the sound, so we can work with the tuning fork, we can place that on the body, that can shift our energy. But can we actually take the number and treat it as a code? So if we look at everything around us, nature, and we look at the physical body and we look at the bones, we have a code. We're based on a code of nature, code of the universe. So can we use that code in a conscious way to shift energy? So I was talking to them about one particular frequency which you may like to try as well yourself. You remember Tesla talked about the power of 3, 6 and 9. Well, this is a code based on 3, 6 and 9. And if you know the power of 3, 6 and 9, then you have a code, you have the secrets of the universe. Yeah. And so I said to these guys, I said, okay, what I want you to do is the next time someone is getting really pissed off with you, they were getting really angry, irritated, or they're trying to throw a guilt trip on you, or they're trying to just throw some negative energy your way, I want you to think about 396. 396. We can use that as a frequency to shift energy. And it is all about grounding the body. It's all about purifying. It's all about shifting our state of separation consciousness, fear, guilt, shame, things which aren't the truth of who we are. So I said, what you're going to do is you're going to visualize 396. 396. And you don't necessarily have to use the hands, but this really helps. 396. And it's like you're grabbing a waterfall of light and using the breath, breathing in 396 and breathing out. And you would do this silently in the presence of someone who's throwing crap at you, either that or you walk away. And you're using the breath, you're using consciousness, and you're using a code which actually works. And I could see, some eyes were just going, oh yeah, right, And I said, you've got nothing to lose by trying it. I said, I don't care if you believe me or not. I said, just try it. And that was pretty much the end of the talk. I didn't have much time to speak with these people. But 2 years later, I was, a guy came up to me at a festival, and he said, you know what? I was at that class you did in Bristol, at that club or whatever. And he said, I really thought you were talking crap. And I was like, yeah, I get that. We are so led to believe that we are limited in what we can do with consciousness, and what we can do with sound, and what we can do with the breath, and how we can shift our energy. He said, I thought that it was just a pile of rubbish. And he said, but I did what you said, and I actually tried it out. I was like, great. And he said, you know what? It worked. And I was like, yes. Because what we focus on expands. Our intention is everything. thought plus intention, thought plus energy, thought plus action equals result, or sound plus intention, or code plus intention equals healing. So we're not limited in that way. And for me, I love that because I don't need to be connected to anything which is super complex. I don't have to spend loads of money on something. I don't necessarily have to go and see someone. Obviously, it depends on what the physical challenge is. But there are certain things that I have available to myself which I can use to shift my state, which I can use to shift pain, which I can use to shift stuck energy. And pretty soon we can start to unpack how the body stresses itself out, how we are challenged with the energies around us from devices that we use and other energies from unhealthy food, chemicals in personal care products, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Everything, like I said, shared yesterday, matter, what we have been told about matter is wrong. Einstein said this. And matter is energy. So it's not physical, dense, stuck, never going to change. It is mutable. It is changeable in every moment. So we're not limited. And that's why I'm really passionate about using breath, sound, movement, and then tuning the body to specific frequencies, which can actually shift energy. And what I've noticed for me when I've used them is I sometimes might get a bit nauseous and I might feel energy shifting in my body. I might feel a bit of energy rising and I might burp. That's actually how I shift energy. And I find that if I tune into the body and how the body's moving that energy, it's already starting. It's like there is an unraveling if I'm listening. And it's not like an asana that anyone's taught you in a yoga class or any kind of exercise you might have ever been taught by any teacher. It's you tuning into your body wisdom and unraveling how your body wants to do it. And it's going to be completely different to someone else. So thank you so much. If you like this video, I would love you to acknowledge that. And if you've got any comments, please share them in the comments. And if you're interested to find out more, I'm going to be teaching Body Sonics next week. And I'm really excited to share it because not only can we do it for personal healing for ourselves, because that's the best way of guiding others, but I'm also sharing for the first time a practitioner training in how to do that for others. It's one of the most beautiful tools we have. So thanks for watching, and I really appreciate your time. And if you found this inspiring, please share it. Please share it with other friends and colleagues, anyone that you feel is perhaps looking for a breakthrough in their life. Because we can heal. We can heal as soon as we're ready. And yeah, matter is energy. So the moment we decide that we want that and we choose that, then we can create it. Yeah. Thanks so much. Bye.